Laura, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Pressure.
Ready when you are.
All right, we're going to start.
We're going to start.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, and let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's do a roll call. Let's start on, we'll start here with Chelsea. Do you want to start us?
Chelsea O'Reilly, District Manager.
Tom Shaner.
John Berry.
Ed Hedges.
Peggy Hall.
Al Steinbeck.
Marty Mantonfeld.
And do we have any public comments today?
No.
No, wow, okay. This is starting off well. I'd approve minutes, but doesn't look like we have any.
No.
All right, is there a reason for that or just,
I'm not sure.
okay,
I'll have to follow up with George and find out.
okay. All right, hold any thoughts you may have. Financial report, it looks like we've got the full year report that finally showed up, so let's look at this.
This is the same as we had at our last meeting.
So this is nothing different than what we saw last time, unaudited?
It only goes to September.
Yeah, I thought it was through August last time.
Yeah, I guess I handed out.
Yeah,
in
you did.
September.
You did.
Here's,
I actually pulled them up on the screen during the meeting last week or last time, so you've seen September. It just wasn't part of your packet.
Ah, okay.
I don't know if you want to go through,
Yeah, is there anything that anybody had any questions on?
Yeah,
you tell me where to go. And
I won't get into a lot of the issues that I got with some of it, but on this one, the ponds and landscaping are switched. The landscaping is the reserves. The landscaping is actually 294 and the ponds is a 236. But the question I have is, when do you want me to make, do you want me to make another month to make my motion to correct the reserves? Because the capital back in, actually start with in March, we moved $100,000 from ponds reserves to the ponds fund. They upped the ponds operation and maintenance from 804 to 904, but they did not subtract 100,000 from the ponds reserve. I don't know how you do an accounting transfer with only half of the transaction.
Ed,
And then,
I just make a quick comment. These are from the original September financials that were published at the beginning of October. We've made quite a few adjustments since then, so this is not like an updated September financials. Some of those adjustments have already been made.
Are we going to get an updated September financials?
I will when I give you the October ones because she's still tweaking some stuff.
Okay. Well, the other one was in our June meeting, we moved the 200,000 from funding capital reserves to safety and security for the capital roads. And then the financials were showing that removed off of our 002, but they added 200,000 to the capital reserves here as part of this at the year end. So those two need to be backed out of the
Ed, if you
of
want
those reserves.
if you want to email all of that recapping, and then, because I know we're trying to get the October financials out with the packet for next week. So if you want to email all that,
Okay.
and that way Laura can go back and double check with Infomark and make sure all of those corrections have been accounted
Okay.
for.
I just don't
Yep,
want
to the best of my knowledge, those have already been requested and done.
Yeah, let's just,
And one of the, just so you know, one of the things that Laura and I talked about internally is, and I know it's more work on Infomark, but if you guys make a motion to move the money, move the money.
yep, I agree
So
with that.
we're gonna make sure that that occurs, even though it's mid-year and you might not use all of it. We're gonna make that happen. So,
Appreciate that.
of course, correct on that.
Okay, so then Ed will email, do you want to email you or
Laura,
Laura?
and CC
okay.
me if you want.
Okay.
but
Okay,
Send it to Laura.
perfect. Thank you, Ed. All right, any other questions on the financial report? And Doug, that took care of the concern that you talked to me about, correct?
I knew there was
Okay, I just wanted to make-
$100,000
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was everything that you were concerned about.
I have no comment.
And the payoff of the bond will show up on will be in the October,
Should be
November.
November.
That'll be November financials because it's set to be paid off November 1st.
Okay.
So you won't see that till December.
Right.
Okay, just want to be clear.
Just setting expectations.
Yes.
I'll put an agenda item on your November meeting to give you an update and just confirm that everything is done and good to go.
Okay, but it did get paid?
Not yet, November 1st. Oh, wait, yes, it did. I'm sorry. Yes, it's paid. I will get all that stuff from the bank to take care of that and just confirm that that's all done because it was supposed to happen on the 1st.
Correct, yeah.
I know everything was there. I keep
So-
forgetting it's November already.
It's a blur. It's just.
I know.
All right, so nothing else on financial report. We'll look forward.
Question on that. What do we receive back as showing the payoff? Does that come back to?
We got notice of payoff from the bank/trustee. So we did get documentation.
Do we have to get a lien lifted?
I'll have to follow up on that. I'm not 100% sure. We were told by our bond counsel that once we receive that letter, everything's kosher. So
Could we get a copy of that as
Yeah.
well? Thank you.
as long as there's no bank information, yes, we'll get it to you. Laura can black it out.
Well, no,
So-
I think you should.
It may be maybe partially redacted, but yes.
I guess it just won't show up on when you communicate next year's assessments to the county assessor. It just won't show up on that.
Yeah.
So I've paid off properties before, and then the bank has sent me a letter that the lien has been paid for,
Yeah, we got a letter from the bank.
but they never went to the city to remove the lien on my property.
Gotcha.
Okay. We'll watch for that.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else on finance, we'll move to 7A, which is the landscaping summary, which Nancy sent one in. And we talked about it this morning at the President's Council as well. As the drip lines are complete, my understanding from Mark is that there might be a couple stragglers that they had missed, and that they are still planning on doing the repainting of the monuments, but it's going to happen after the Christmas lights are taken down. And she makes mention here that they're checking into the peeling street signs. There are some that it literally looks like they took black electrician's tape and taped 15 and it's peeling. So we're checking. I'm not sure if you guys have gotten a C-click fix on that, or
I took note of that from the follow-up of the last meeting and delegated that to Public Works.
thank you. All right, and
There's a lot of faded and other street signs that safety and security is going to have to deal with at some point.
Okay. But that's on their list of things.
Do we have any update on the wild boars?
They're wild still. Yeah.
Wow.
Everything that I have heard is that people are pointing like this to who's responsible. So Chelsea, can you clarify who is responsible for removing things like iguanas and wild boars?
Yep, so the stance that the district has taken typically with iguanas, and the same would be applicable to boars, is unless they are damaging district property, that is the only time that will trigger for us to, it would warrant removal.
So like if an iguana is sitting on a weir, that doesn't damage it, so you're just gonna let them live?
Yes.
Okay,
Now, if we observe damage because they're digging around the weir, then yes, we will hire a trapper to come out and remove those iguanas.
okay.
Same thing with wild hogs. I personally have wild hogs in the back of my property and they root like crazy. Yeah, hire a trapper to come out and trap.
Makes a difference whose property. Like if it's on gateway property, I got a smart squirrel when he runs my property, the neighbor's property.
Mhm.
You know, it makes no difference when they come out, whether it's left the gateway property and moved on to Pelican Preserve property.
No matter what, we cannot touch private property.
That's what I'm getting at. That becomes the problem. That hog is a smart animal. It roots in one place and jumps to the other, seriously. So when you go to who's got to get it, they may have been on gateway property. When you call and Chelsea initiates the hunter or trapper, when a trapper gets over there, the hog is moved on to Pelican Preserve property.
Be smarter than chasing back to Gateway
Yeah,
property.
chasing back the Gateway
Yeah.
property.
Send them to the golf course.
Oh,
They're there
great
too.
idea.
They're there
Oh,
too.
they're on the golf
Yeah.
course.
He'll make some apple
Maybe the
blossoms.
shooting club can take
It's a
care of it.
problem.
Yeah,
with
let's
multiple
talk
properties.
to Carol. Can you handle that? Got it. All right, any other questions?
Happy to, but,
Yeah, there might be a bit of
there might be
pushing.
a problem.
They
Yeah.
taste pretty good. They're a
I
little
was-
gamey.
I was gonna say, we could have a luau for a theme
Bacon.
night. Oh.
Bacon.
All right, any other questions on the landscape update that Nancy provided? Let's move on to ponds. Doug, would you mind coming up?
Doug Zander, the Ponds Group. I'd like to go through a little bit. Is that my chart up there?
Your chart.
Okay, basically, we overspent by 236,518. The 100,000 were transferred in. Our original budget was 804. On the second page, just so you know, I just listed some of the things, so you knew it totally wasn't out of control, even though it looks like a large number. If you go to the bottom of that, it's 268,000. Some of that stuff that was not billed the following year. Some of the stuff was they didn't complete the project because it was too wet for the project, and it's spewed over to the next year budget. But we actually had 268,000 that affected us from a negative standpoint in last year, and I just listed all the things there. So you had, just for, if anyone questions that type stuff.
Doug, do you know, do we have a lot or a similar amount that's going to be trickle over from this last year
No,
into this year?
Then nothing of this magnitude, nothing of this magnitude. Maybe we could have done a better job of knowing that Brad didn't bill us at Extreme Divers for 6 months.
Yeah.
And when he did bill us, it was the following year.
Right. Okay.
Okay, go to the pond bank restoration. Just from a high level, you can read all that there, but from a high level standpoint, we believe we're going to do, we like to do pond 47, which is and 48, which are two smaller ponds. We believe both of those ponds can be done with the abbreviated less than $195,000, which is the abbreviated bid process. The larger pond, which is number 2 on the list after 36, which we did this year, will be greater than the 195 and will require a formal bid process. We'll start early, so we aren't, like this year, we were in wet season doing the restoration. We'll start pond 43 early, so that we can have it all ready to go in dry season, early in dry season, so that can get done, but it will not be this year
This
from our
fiscal
books.
year, okay.
So the plan right now is 47 is to do a pilot there with a different technology than we used before. Tetra Tech is working on that for I'll call them they aren't like bid specs, they're abbreviated specs. And 48, the plan would be to do some form of coconut mesh like we've done before. So we will have 2 different, a pilot with a different technology and then coconut mesh. So those are, and the pond we're doing coconut mesh, reason we're looking at that pond is because there's good growth of littorals already in there, which means the coconut mesh will not disturb the growth. I mean, it's what would you call it? Best case littorals of all of our ponds is that 48.
That's my pond.
And I wouldn't like to rip them up. Okay, any questions can be at any time. The fountain 17 is, we're fixing that. That's one right across from the Brokey Center. It has a board, a control board that was burnt out, which is why it wasn't burnt out. It was intermittent. It was burnt going in and out. So that's being replaced. The PO was put in, I think today for that, to replace that board. And the conservation area, I also put the names. I should go back. That's okay. You don't have to go back, Chelsea, but Al Slicker and Jim Latham are working on the next pond bank restorations. They're the lead. So, and Jay has fountains, Jay Nemen, or Nemia, or
I
whoever.
always said Nemia, but I don't know if that's correct.
I don't know the exact, but I just call him Jay. Aeration and fountains, he's got that responsibility in conservation. Harold Dagnow took that over, and we just completed trimming around. And we've adding that to the contract that will trim around the boardwalk area every year. It'll be part of the normal contract as opposed to one-off.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
and Chelsea, we did check to see if that was something that our maintenance crew could do, and we were told no, that they need to have special licensing, so.
The only other thing is Brad at Extreme Divers is doing the interconnect project. That's a 3-month project. They've started that, but it will be going on for quite a while through the end of the year and into January. The only other thing is Pond 36, once it gets lower, that's when we completed, we'll have an aggressive planting of littorals. There's no littorals on there now after the restoration. So we'll have an aggressive planting of littorals on that pond. Any other questions? You always have a question, Mark.
The grass mowing that's around the preserve, it seems a bit erratic. Are you responsible for that, or is that the landscape?
I might be PPCA.
No, this is around
What preserve?
the preserve in Pelican Preserve where
The
the
big one.
boardwalk goes through and
The big one behind Brock.
Yeah,
behind the.
I don't have
The-
that. I don't have, I know the Ponds Group doesn't have that. I thought it was PPCA. I could be wrong.
With,
Bob, do you know?
where,
I don't
which,
think anybody does it because it's conservation.
No, he's talking about outside the country.
Along, you have
Marty.
the paved path, and then on either side of the paved path, it's very erratic where the grass is mowed.
where?
On the inside of the paved path is conservation. Can't touch it. Saying somebody has it, you can't touch it. Outside of the paved path,
Is golf
Talking on the-
course or
You're talking
community
Brock,
association.
at the
depends on
Brocky
where
Center
it is.
Yes.
side, on the, which side? Because that conservation area is huge.
It's between the Brocky Center and the softball field.
That's community association.
Yeah.
that's right. Not on the inside.
Along, on the inside of,
outside.
on the inside of the path.
Okay.
Because we don't even, I don't do anything with that path.
Because,
That's PPCA, I'm pretty sure.
You can't touch the inside of the paved.
Yeah, but
well, it's mowed in one area, and then it stops, and then the grass is this high, and then you go 6 more feet, and it's mowed again.
I know where you mean. I know it's not the I know it's not the conservation area. I think it's PPCA, but
Marty, why don't you send us an email and we can look into it?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that.
any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. 8A, professional services agreement with Passarella for our GIS systems. And this is inclusive of all 3 subcommittees who have already passed and approved their portions. So is there any discussion, or do you want to just call a vote?
Move we approve Pastorella contracts.
Okay, Ed has moved for passage. Do it.
Mark,
Okay, second for John. Again, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Marty says aye.
Marty says aye, so unanimous. All right, moving on to B, recommendation of the sale of monuments at Colonial and Tree Line. And this is interesting because I had heard that we were going to get huge pushback. At the President's Council this morning, I brought it up and, was expecting people to say, this is, our property and we are not going to part with it because it's good PR.
Crickets.
There was crickets. Everybody was like, sell it if it could benefit us. But I do have a question for you, Chelsea. When it sells, where does it go? Where would the assets go if we can sell it?
That would be determined by the Board of Supervisors, because technically they're district assets, but we would recommend that those proceeds go to Pelican Fund.
Okay.
What about the appraisal? What's the cost of the appraisal?
Couldn't the appraisal be part of the real estate contract?
Somebody's
Yeah,
got to
for the
pay for
house.
the appraisal.
Yeah,
ahead of-
When
So-
you put your house up for sale, a real estate broker comes and says, here's what I think your house is worth. Unless you're borrowing from a bank, then you
Well,
have
yeah.
to formal appraisal.
That's it, you need formal appraisal. What you're talking about is ballpark by the realtor.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He tells you what he thinks he or she can get for selling their home.
Exactly.
It's asking for an official
Well,
appraisal.
that's one of the,
Yeah, do we have, I mean, we see that this is a suggested process, so our opinion would be, do we want to approve going forward with it? Is that correct?
So you would make the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to proceed with the sale of these. From staff recommendation, we would recommend you get it appraised so you know at a minimum what you would accept for it. We've talked about some different methods on how you can go about doing it. I think the fairest thing to do is put it out on the street for X amount of days. It goes to the highest bidder. You don't pick and choose. We can't pick and choose. You can hire a broker and have them, solicit and, try to drum up as much business and they get, their typical broker fee. But if you're looking to sell it, obviously we would make notice the commercial parcels that are up there saying, hey, this is going out on the street in case you're interested on purchasing. And it would go to the highest bid.
And we would not have to remove anything. It would just sell as is.
We could sell it as is, yes.
Okay. And that would lessen our expense.
By how much, we don't know that, do we? We don't know how much we're actually spending to keep it
Carol?
All right.
looking nice.
Do you have any information, any more information than what we've got right now on, this is it, okay.
I'd like to know whether it's really got a market.
Yeah, we would find out, wouldn't we?
I know, that's, I look at that piece of land and, go,
Who
even
would
though
buy
I've
it?
heard you could put this, I'm not sure anybody would use it.
I agree.
There's no
I agree.
parking accessible to that piece of land.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure what it's worth. That doesn't mean anything about trying to sell it. I'm just curious as to what it would really be worth.
Some of the things that we talked about internally was, let's just say, a lot of places, a lot of developers will purchase and acquire land directly abutting their property, so that way they can get increased density if they wanted to add something else elsewhere, because then that's additional land that they're encumbering as part of it. An idea that Randy had, which is a way out there idea, but I like his way of thinking, choose not to sell it, perhaps look into how much it would cost to put, like with Lamar and message boards and have revenue and sell messaging if the city would allow it. And then you would hire like a Lamar who does all of the billboards, and that could be revenue. That's an alternative.
Then it would be unsightly.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
think
am.
that
It's
would
like,
get a
God,
big-
oh, that's what I'm shooting myself in the head hearing that complaint. No, but it's thinking outside of the box, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to the value.
this,
One is the appraisal. I want to know what the value is, but I also want to know what the marketability is of those pieces of land.
So.
well, I guess I'd like to know,
One purchase.
if we have to get an appraisal, what's that gonna cost? Because we're gonna be paying for it. So what's that gonna cost to get an appraisal? Do you have any idea?
Last time we got an appraisal, it was like, we did the fun park and it was less than $1,000.
Okay.
So we could reach out to 3 different appraiser companies and see what they charge us.
So if we sell this land, the billboard could go up and we will have no control because we've sold the land.
Correct. That's the thing. Once you sell that piece of land,
Out of it.
you're out of it. They can do whatever they want there. They can put in a merchant diamond.
Oh, gosh.
This is it. I may be in the minority, but when my wife and I were looking for property, place to retire, those monuments and sign were attractive to us. It helped attract us to Pelican, and it is the entrance to Pelican Preserve, not the residential, but to the development, Pelican Preserve development area. So we kind of have a soft spot in our heart to those monuments. I went out and looked. Property drains both directions. Part of it drains to the street and then comes into our Basin 6 drainage, in our Pelican drainage system. The back part of the properties drain out to Colonial and go down the Colonial ditch line to, and especially on the dental side.
The dentist,
There,
the Winn-Dixie side, yeah.
the Winn-Dixie side, the parking lots drain into the property line that's between the dental and that. So I'm not sure how you would even get access
Right.
to, you know, you'd have to put in culverts and everything else to build anything on them. But I guess I could go along with selling them if there was a commitment that the money came to Pelican and we built at least a mirror image Pelican monument on the north side of Pelican Boulevard, so that when you're coming up from the airport, there's some Pelican monument on the north side. I wish it was a little grander than what's on the south side, but
On Pelican Boulevard?
Tree line, you mean
You mean tree
Tree
line?
line.
on the north side of
Tree
Pelican
line.
Boulevard at tree line,
At tree.
So
at tree line.
There's not a
we've
lot of
got
space
the-
there either.
We've got the ones that Doug just put the fountains so that they shoot up 3 feet rather than 6 inches.
No, over 5 feet.
But if we had a commitment that that money would come back, if we could sell them and be earmarked, you know, come back to Pelican and be earmarked and start construction on something on the north side that mirrored what's on the south side, I guess I could go along with it. But just to sell that property and those monuments and do nothing to enhance the Pelican Reserve entrances, I can't go along with
So,
that.
let me make sure I understand. Those two pieces of property are owned by Gateway, they're in the district, but they're owned by Gateway.
Correct.
They're not owned by Pelican Preserve itself.
Well, they were part of our bond that we just paid off. Yeah, they
The
were
monuments,
encumbered by
the
our bond.
monuments may be, but the property was always.
So it's the property, and you have any idea what it cost you to maintain those two pieces of property?
Doug would, because it's his group that oversees it.
Okay.
Doug, do you want to come up and give an estimate on what? you
Just a
think
round
yearly-
number.
Well, we used to have the fountains and electricity and all that and the maintenance on that. And when we turned them off, it's zero.
Right.
From a pond standpoint for the fountain itself. Mark has some landscaping. He said it was minimal with the
didn't know.
landscape group. And he painted the monument. So you got painting every so many years of the monument, and then you got a little bit of landscaping around there. That's it
Okay.
from that area.
Well,
So not a high cost to maintain
and
it.
Christmas
No, it used to-
decorations for that area.
Right, but that's what what is that costing Gateway? And it's Gateway's property, they own it. Does Pelican Preserve want to own it? It's kind of where I'm going, is does Pelican Preserve want to own that property rather than Gateway, and what would that mean? Can it be simply handed over to us, or sell it to Pelican, then you have control of the monument, you never have to worry about what Marty's saying, we sell the property, it's up for grabs with anybody, with whatever they want to do. And, I agree with you, and even though it's not Pelican Preserve that the sign shows, it is down the street.
But those commercials, what everybody loses sight of, those commercials are part of the Pelican Preserve plan development. They are subject to our declarations. Community Association provides irrigation to them. I mean, they're not part of the residential neighborhood, but it is the entrance into Pelican. One other thing, though, the electricity to those monuments, I mean, they do have the lights on them and that, but it also powers the irrigation controller on tree, at least the north one on tree line. So if you sold the property and it went to somebody else, we would at a minimum have to put in an electrical entrance there at the Winn-Dixie entrance to power that electrical controller. So there are things that would have to happen to cost occurred to actually sell the property, but.
So if you decided to proceed with this, we would have a list put together of all of the things that we would have to address. You could get the appraisal, and maybe you get an appraisal and you don't like the number, it's not worth selling to you, but I would recommend, if you're contemplating it, in order to make an educated decision, I would invest, if it's $1,000, in getting an appraisal. Because that's
I'm willing to do that. I'd like to know what it's worth, And from what, a good appraisal will also tell you not only what it's worth, but whether it can sell. You know, I mean,
True.
if it's if he comes back and says it's worth $2 because you can't sell it, that tells us, or nobody can use it. But I
So
think-
can we just request that we get an appraisal before we go through any
Before
of
we
this
go
other
through anything.
process?
Or do we need to make a
Yeah,
motion?
I make a
asking
motion
questions?
that we get a formal appraisal for those two parcels
Not to exceed.
and bring that back to us, and then we can take it up further.
And we'll amend it to not to exceed a certain dollar amount, not to exceed $1,000 or something like that.
No, that's, you don't, you
For
gotta be careful,
appraisal.
we don't really, I mean, we're grabbing a number, John, we don't know what it really is.
Well, if an appraisal costs us $8,000,
No,
I don't want to do that.
I think within reason, less than 2,000.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I'm
I'll
just
ex-
gauging by,
I'll accept 2,000.
Yeah, same.
So we've got an amended proposal to request a formal appraisal of the two properties on Tree Line and Colonial, not to exceed $2,000. Do we have a second? Okay, Alan has seconded it. Any other discussion?
so do you want us to get those appraisals and bring those back to you at your December meeting?
That would be
Sure.
perfect if you can. Yeah.
As soon as possible.
And technically, I think it's one parcel with two pieces. In the county, it's
Come up.
a single parcel.
We've got Carol.
Carol asked us to do this.
I did. No, it's fine. I was just wondering that your word formal appraisal, a lot of times you pay, I don't think you want a formal appraisal where from Illinois, where I came from, we used to get what they called windshield appraisals, where they would contact one or two realtors, in this case, commercial realtors, and say, in today's market, what is this worth? And they, they may drive by it and all that sort of stuff, but they're not going to give you a formal written appraisal. And so I was just wondering if I think the word formal was the one that, an estimated appraisal or something like that.
Professional appraisal, it can be.
Yeah, I think you just want an idea. You don't necessarily want a report.
Correct.
You don't want somebody
You want
to
a site
submit a
map and
report
all
to you.
that stuff.
Yeah, we just want them to tell
We
us in
need
their
to go to
best
somebody
estimate.
that does appraisals,
Yeah.
not just,
Want a number.
So this is Marty. I am not for selling this property at all. It's aesthetically pleasing to drive by and see that Pelican or whatever there and know that you're entering the area to Pelican Preserve.
But
So
we're
I-
not voting on selling it. We're voting on just
I
getting
know
an
what it's
appraisal.
worth, Marty.
Right.
Which one supports your answer in the end?
Yeah, good, good.
It's
Yeah.
worth $2, I'm selling.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to counter Carol, but I would ask for the formal because if you choose to action that item, then you don't want to duplicate efforts. So, I mean, we can try to keep it a formal under 2,000. Because if you decide to sell, then we want to be able to give that to either the realtor or broker, whomever you hire and say, here's our appraisal. But it's totally up
if
to you.
that's how, best way to work it, that's fine.
All right, so the recommendation is as stands that we're requesting a formal, not to exceed $2,000.
If it comes back $2, maybe the community association will want
Buy
to buy it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Start to maintain.
All right,
I cannot support that proposal.
all right. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Nay.
And Marty says nay. Thank you. All right, moving on. Let's go to 8. Anything else you need on that, Chelsea? Okay. 8C, the status of golf carts on the boardwalk. We had asked for a permit modification, correct?
Yes.
That we want to be able to bring in from the north side of the preserve to the first bigger landing area in the preserve area. And we've got the results here, which they said they don't find anything that's,
Well, this is just Passarella's application, right?
this is their report, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we will be submitting to
Yes.
Florida. Okay. So as you can see, we're asking for a lenience to be able to come into that first larger area for the boardwalk. And they did not find anything that was what is it?
Protected species.
Protected species, yes, thank you. So we're clear to go ahead and start?
No, we have one additional item. So Passerelle has completed their portion of this. Tetra Tech has to put together and review a specification for the bollards, because we have to put in bollards in the legs so golf carts don't go there. So Tetra Tech is putting that together. And then as soon as we get that, we will be submitting to South Florida.
Will we get a price tag on those before we submit?
What do you mean?
I mean, how much it's going to cost for the bollards and everything? Is that minor? Minor, okay.
Minor. You're probably going to spend more on the permit modification application than you are on the actual
Okay.
bollards themselves.
I can,
What, the bollards?
no, the permit application.
Application,
Over $1,000.
not tens.
Oh, no, absolutely not, no.
So the bollards, you're saying, are going to those little areas that you can,
Yes.
Go to the right or
So
go
where you
straight,
go down to
yeah.
the lollipop.
Yeah.
okay.
I call it the lollipop.
There are a number of people who have voiced objections, just to say. Just don't think golf carts should go in that area no matter what. Because when you have one that gets, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. When you have one that does get in there, another one that's trying to get in there, and the other one's leaving, they cannot pass. And that has been strongly pointed out a couple times, so.
It's hard for a pedestrian to pass
Yeah.
the golf cart too.
I know certain people are in favor of this. I will just say, I'm not.
So it's no longer for people needing assistance or anything, it's anybody can go in there
Well,
with a
that's-
golf cart?
No,
Alan,
it's-
that's part, no.
Yeah, so.
If I
what-
can, it's
then what
supposed
about
to,
enforcement then?
that's it. It's supposed to be, and I appreciate this, that it's for those that are mobily,
Yeah.
and whatever the
And-
It's
proper
an
word is
ADA
to them.
accommodation.
Yeah.
But what is going to stop anybody from a golf cart? Oh, you have to have the blue flag on your golf cart? Great. And now
But-
you don't.
But
What are we
who's gonna
do?
stand out there and enforce it? or
Right,
who's
who
gonna-
fines, who does what?
You
So
know.
I'm
Doug,
little, I appreciate the request and why it is a nice request. I just think it's going to create problems that
Well,
aren't there.
and part
right
of the challenge though that we've had is that we don't have any parking for golf carts
now. Correct,
on that north side. And from the south side, it is a hike.
yes.
And for people who are challenged, it is preventative.
And I can
Yeah.
tell you just from that south side parking spot that they have, it's not a good spot on a windy day because the wind tends to come, whatever, the east to west, and it blows all of that big fountain onto those golf carts. When you come out of the preserve, your golf cart is soaked.
Hmm.
So that is not a well-placed parking site. So yeah, that's a problem. I don't have an answer.
Oh, I
I
know.
just am concerned about opening that up.
Okay.
Chelsea, when we make application to submit the application to South Florida, if they say yes, is it, and we have to proceed with it or?
Typically wouldn't apply for something if you're not going to proceed with it.
Well, I know part of it was, when we had this discussion before, was, well, let's throw it up there and see if we get approval this time, but.
But no, I don't suppose there's any reason why we couldn't just say we're not moving forward. If
Well, you're applying for a permit modification. So if they approve your permit modification, then you're saying that these are things that you're doing. And then you have so much time to make that happen.
Okay. Hold on just a second. Doug, is there any way we could turn down the power on that one fountain?
You can turn it off, it's been off for quite a while.
But I mean, couldn't we
Yesterday,
couldn't we
You can
mod,
relocate it. You can relocate it.
yeah. So I mean, we have options for that. That could be,
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful fountain, that going as high as.
And it was closer to the residences, but
And
then
they-
it blowed up on there.
Yeah,
so then
that's
they
why if
drove
we
it
could-
further.
yeah, if we could ratchet it down to 15 feet, it would be beautiful and less problematic.
Put it in the middle of the preserve, then nobody would want to go in there in their golf cart.
Can't put it in there.
There's
I'm
a
only
thought.
kidding.
There you go. Any other discussion on this? Bob, did you say you? Okay.
Bob Geffert from Breno, and I guess I was probably the
the advocate for this, not for me personally, because I'm not handicap access, but for the number of people that might have talked to you, I've had an equal number of people call me with vision problems and mobility issues that would really like to have it. And although it doesn't say handicap access, that's what it's supposed to be. And I don't think there's going to be that much traffic that meeting somebody one way or the other is going to create a problem. I really don't.
And just to comment, you can see from.
One end to the other.
You can see the other end of the.
Yeah, it's not a long
It's not like
distance.
you can't see someone coming in with a cart.
Mhm.
If someone's trying to get out with a cart.
It's a pretty short distance,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I just know I've heard a lot of people say that they would appreciate having the golf cart parking because then they wouldn't be illegally parking on the preserve. That is the comment that I've mainly heard. So,
Most people that I notice going in there park right there on the
and they
side.
and they can't. Yeah, and they shouldn't.
do. They park, there's one little spot there that you can squeeze to.
Okay. Any other comment?
Yeah, is there, it's too bad we couldn't put some temporary bollards in there and evaluate this, you know, for 6 months. Just evaluate, is it really of value or isn't it? You know, are there that many people going in there? But then that's still gonna require somebody going there and checking to find out who's sitting in there and who's actually using it and so on and so forth. But otherwise, it really, I do think it's gonna create some issues for us because people are gonna start complaining about, well, so-and-so is in there and they're not ADA necessary, so I don't know. I'm kind of up and down on it.
So we haven't submitted this permit application. You can change your mind, but as of right now, we're proceeding as if we're going to apply.
Chelsea, does the application say that we would remove the bollard at the entrance? I mean, if you constructed the bollards on the two legs, they could always stay there. It's the bollard at the entrance, and I think those are kind of
They're removable.
removable.
Mhm.
So you could take those out, and then 6 months, if it becomes a real issue, you could put that bollard back and leave the ones that are on the legs, type of thing.
If
maybe
we
we-
approve it and move forward with it. Yeah.
Do you put a sign up at the entrance too about this is for ADA flying carts
Yeah.
only?
You have to.
I mean, you could actually even put a little gate and give people.
We could
Like our trap game.
come up.
Alan, what I would just say is when you go, you could just leave the one out there by the fountain, the Ballards by the fountain, and just leave them there in, and do the other and take them out. Because no one could go, if they went down that long path, they're going to go to a dead end and have to back all the way out. There ain't going to be many people
No,
going there
you
doing
would
that.
always, you would always leave the bollards on the fountain
Right.
side. But
Right.
I'm just saying that on the short side, you take that bollard out, you leave the structure there so you
Right.
could put it back if you wanted
Right.
to.
You don't want golf cart going out to the bird watching.
Right, you have to.
Right.
No.
No, you have to put the block there.
Right.
You gotta put-
You gotta
Right.
put them in, that's not a big deal to put them
Right.
in. I think the question to me is this the right thing to do or not? I again, appreciate the request. I'm concerned about, I think, what Ed said, or Alan said, maybe the right thing to do is move forward. If we find we get a lot of complaints and problems, we simply come back and put the bollard at the gate.
Entrance.
There's nothing that prohibits that. If we got the application allows you to do it, doesn't say you have to maintain it, right?
At least then we'd have the test.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to move forward with this? I believe you do.
Or do we need to wait for the Tetra Tech?
No, we were gonna submit it as soon as we got the text, because it's only a single page spec, so we were just gonna submit.
Okay.
So as long as that's still the direction from EPAC.
All right, let's just make an official motion.
So I'll make a
then.
motion to move forward with this.
Second.
Okay, motion by Marty, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous?
And we'll leave the spot where the bollard goes right now, so that we
Yeah.
determine. if
Yeah, we
can't
won't
work,
pull that
we'll
out.
push it back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Okay.
be much to back up then.
All right, moving on. We've got 8D, We've got the American flag responsibility
Okay,
and
that's me.
Tom.
That's,
Yeah.
I would like to know what we can do to get the authority to deal with the flags out front of the gatehouse without having to run through Gateway. Why do we have a flag up there right now that's been up there for a month, flying by one
Grommet.
drum, just flapping in the breeze? No color left to it either. It's Florida flag. Okay, it's a Florida flag. But and you correct me if I'm wrong, this is rumor, and we have no rumors in Pelican Preserve. That when we need to have the flag lowered for half-mast, whether it's a presidential decree or an appropriate day, we have to have somebody from Gateway come over there and do that. We get charged from office flag to office. Could we not have a program where volunteers were able to run that flag? Bring it up, take it down, secure new ones, have you pay the bill, whatever.
We could. I know I attended the last Safety and Security Subcommittee meeting, and what that committee discussed was putting it in the Wiser post orders, because those are not yet finalized, and having that as a responsibility of Wiser, since they're right there. And we support that motion.
That would initially satisfy my concern.
Yeah, that was what was discussed and decided upon, and so I know they meet next week, and I think they're as close to finishing those post orders. That way we can give those to Wiser.
Yeah, but I get a lot of comments all the time when those flags are not up on 9/11. We got a call 5 minutes after 9/11 started. Why had the flag at half-mast? And then I find out, well, we can't do it. John Phillips, our guy, went and did something and got scolded. I forget what it was, but he ran, I think it was a hurricane was coming. So he dropped the flag, got yelled at by somebody again.
I don't think he got yelled at.
Okay.
When he
You don't know sensitive John.
When he removed those flags, we asked that he put them back up since he was the one who removed them, and that we were told no. So then we had to send our staff over to go put the flags back up. And since then, we have ordered a new state of Florida flag.
Oh, good.
So
Well, it's flapping in the breeze, right?
And then can we also request that the post orders indicate that Wiser needs to keep abreast of which?
yeah, we actually have
Which
Daniel.
days? Yeah.
Daniel and I are both signed up through a website that notify you every time that there's that you have to put those to half mast, and so we'll make sure that Wiser has that information.
So that's going back to safety and security, and that'll take care of your issue.
That's where it's gonna end up, it's gonna be taken care of.
All right, Pelican Preserve refrigerator, magnets, and brochures, 8E. So this kind of went backwards. It started off at the Board of Supervisors, and I had asked that they push it back to us, because when we talked about this prior, we had ordered brochures, but we had said that we didn't want to have them mailed, and we didn't, that, we weren't looking at doing another rehash of this.
We spent $5,000 on these,
Yep.
didn't we?
Oh, no, it wasn't that much.
Was it that much?
No.
Well, we had 5,000 of these printed off.
Right. And they're still handing them out, but,
I'm handing them out.
yeah.
Nobody else is handing them out.
Well, I've heard a couple people who said they have them available, like when they're selling cards and things like that. But the question in front of us was, with the rebranding of Pelican Preserve, do we want to have this redone at the same time with new brochures? And
Madam Chair, I think it should be tabled. Other matters are resolved between Pelican Preserve and the Gateway.
well, and that was another question I had, so.
Well, is the rebranding decided? Because aren't they both, I didn't think it was.
The branding of the logo,
We've got trees now.
the survey, I'm drawing a blank. The survey goes out until, I think, around the 1st of December. And then from then, so we can wait and delay until after that, but there was some changes made. The only thing that would change would be the actual logo itself. So if you guys are good with A, mailing it, but then B, if you want to tweak any of the language, then you can tweak the language, but we're in no rush to mail these. It's totally your timeline.
Well, I like the thought of kind of tabling this to see how some things kind of pale out.
Well, I'm gonna move to table the discussion.
Why don't we mail these out? Why do we have all these flyers and refrigerator magnets sitting in a box in the district office?
Why would we want to spend the money to mail them to begin with? You've got the president's council. Why can't
Nobody
you
picks
hand
them.
out the number to each one of the presidents to give to their residents?
They don't take them.
What
I
do
have
you
them
mean they
out,
don't take them?
I have them out there on the
Why
table.
won't they
Yeah,
take
but
them?
you don't have, if I had 150 of them, so I need for our community. I guess all, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's, what do you mean they won't take them?
They don't take them, they don't want, Prado doesn't want to take 400 of these and walk around and put them in door.
They don't, don't they have their annual, or their monthly meetings?
Yeah, 5 people come.
Well, I guess that's a problem.
Right, well, I mean, you look at all the HOA-COA meetings, very few people come to those meetings, and they're the same people every month. So, yeah.
So
And they don't want to walk around and hand them out door to door.
I go to the president's meeting and I put them on the table out front, and then I take home what's left over.
Well, we
And,
appreciate that.
and I also, with Bob, I volunteer, and when we hand out the Vial of Life at the Brokey Center, okay, I ask them if they want a refrigerator magnet and a brochure also. Sometimes they take them, sometimes they don't. I pass them out at the Brokey Center, okay? They leave them on the table when they leave.
Yeah. The interest level is low. Cece, do you want to address us?
Hi, I would just comment
Can you
that
state your name, please?
Cece Haas Casella. I would comment that as the president of a local organization, certainly would be willing to do that. That particular version, though, that is already printed, needed some work. And the new proposal, which hasn't been printed yet, obviously, is a little clearer. People are so confused in this community about who does what. And this is a way to help them understand. But I can tell you that, I mean, I take the notes at the President's Council. I've never heard it announced that you left those on a table for people to take. So maybe they're left there, but.
Marty stands outside sometimes, and as the presidents come in, he points.
Oh, okay,
So
that's
he's doing
different.
his job.
And I've gone up there at the end of the meetings or after Peggy's presentations and said that there are brochures and refrigerator magnets outside on the table.
It might pay to
And
suggest that
sometimes-
goes on the agenda for the President's Council.
Sometimes they pick them up, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, although I don't have 400 doors, I've got 52, so, it does, I could understand people not grabbing them.
Marty,
So-
how many would you say we have left? 2,500?
I only picked up 50 and I'm still giving them away.
He's got 48 left.
There's a box that's probably 2 foot by 2 foot. That's
Yeah.
sitting under somebody's desk over in Gateway. Or in a
They're in
storeroom.
closet.
In a closet, right.
That's even worse.
We don't have many
So
closets. but
I
it's in
think,
one of
I
them.
think I'm the only one that's picked any up.
There's an argument for you. Then
Am I wrong? Chelsea?
No, yeah, a couple other folks have picked some up. Yeah.
I mean, I would just add and agree with whoever said, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to spend any more money on this until the whole issue of where we stand with Gateway is resolved.
I would agree with that. Okay.
Thank you.
So there's not, we ordered 5,000 and I'm sure there's probably 4,500 left.
Okay.
is all of this online?
This,
Yeah,
I don't think it is, but I'm not 100%. It
Because then-
can be.
that's just so much easier
don't
for
think
us
so.
to tell people, go here.
Okay.
People, we get brochures every time you go to a trade show and you, oh, okay, and you go home and throw them all away.
Yeah.
So it might be more effective to have this in a, online,
Or
on both sites, ours and Gateway, so if they,
what about putting it, don't you guys have a newsletter that goes out? That's a digital newsletter?
We do
Yeah.
have some things like that. We don't have this exact one in there.
It may be worthwhile to
but
send.
again, the newsletter, the newsletter's not held on to, it's purely electronic now. If in our newsletter, we just, again, could reinforce for Gateway information, go here online. We find a lot of people going online all the time, look up our stuff. So just suggesting that instead of giving out a piece of paper, which tends to get lost or filed in a file you can't remember where, that we reinforce people's ability to find this information by putting it online, both on Gateway and Pelican.
I'll bring it up to our communications committee. We're meeting on Friday. I don't know if you want to take Chelsea looking at, be able to put it online for your website.
Yeah, we can get that up. We'll get it up tomorrow. If it's not already up there, Randy may be already on top of it. I think to Cece's point, there were some changes made to the original one to this one.
Okay.
Just some clarifications, and then we added the Pelican logo. I think we added like there was one like non-HOA landscaping. There were just a couple minor items, but
If we can get this electronically,
absolutely,
perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll make that happen.
All right, thank you. All right,
So Tom, for your information, at the last Board of Directors meeting, I also had it out on the table there.
I know you have been putting them out, like the Magnet King.
Yeah.
Richard.
yeah, he wears many hats for us, and we appreciate all of them. Okay, so at this point then, we don't have any motion in front of us. Do we want to have a formal motion to table this? Is that,
We don't need, that forces it back for discussion at the table.
okay, so just let it die? Okay, that what people would like to do?
That's fine.
All right, let's just let it,
I can't see spending more money on this.
I agree.
You don't need to.
Let Marty keep handing them out.
Okay.
Why not?
Now, the last item that we've got formally under 8 is F, the Series 2023-2 bond disbursement request number 9. So can you go through this, please? I think Laura was the one.
Laura, you want to take this?
Sure, I can take this. This is a 9th request to disperse funds from the bond account. This normally doesn't come to you, it goes to the board. At the board meeting, Carol requested that it come before you. The proceeds are already held in an account with the trustee. We've already spent it. This isn't going to change the balance of anything that's owed on the bonds. I'm just requesting from the trustee the $189 to repay the district for money that we've already spent on bond projects. And this specifically is for the admin building. It's for engineering costs for the admin building.
So Laura, can we just authorize you to take it from our general O2 fund?
Well, I don't know, you can, but I don't know why you would do that because you already have the bonds and the money's already there. It's already been taken out. It's not going to change the balance of the bonds. So the money's already there. We've already issued the bonds. The money's already there. It's waiting to be spent. So there's really no point in taking it out of your O2 versus the bonds.
It just seems ludicrous to clutter up the bond with something like that, but I guess that's,
So if I could, go ahead.
It's because it's an expense for a project that the bonds were taken out to
Hold on.
cover.
Let Ed chime in, please.
Yeah. The bond is taken out. They've already taken out the loan, and the funds are sitting in with a trustee in a bond capital account. And so all this is doing is paying 108, it's like the 9th one that they've done already. It does basically taking the money out of that fund to pay legitimate capital expenses on the bond.
okay.
It has no impact on the bond or our bond assessment, that sort of thing. If we paid for it out of the general fund, out of our O2 fund reserves right now, all that does is keep more money in there to pay for, into the bond construction fund, to pay for future construction of the admin building, and it would lower by $189 how much in the future we might have to pay out of the O2 fund for the building.
So with
Right.
the bond, you're limited to the projects that were listed as part of that bond series.
And if we don't support the project, then what?
That's a board.
I'm not for building an $8 million building.
That's not up to us.
Yeah,
I
Carol,
understand that.
Carol,
but
you
we
were the
can
one that requested it come back to us. Do you want to speak to what your logic was? And if you could come up, that would be great.
Because you had just paid off the 2013 bonds. And we have not voted, the CDD has not voted yet to go ahead with the administrative building or not. This $189 has to do with monies that was spent for engineering for the administrative building and other expenses. So I didn't know, having just paid off the 2013 bonds, if you, the money is owed. That everybody agrees to. But I didn't know if you wanted to keep it as part of the bonds or if you just wanted to pay it. And so that's why I asked that it come back to you.
I guess the point is it doesn't.
And because the $200 wasn't going to make a bit of difference
Not
one
good.
way or the other.
We're not going to break any banks on this. But Ed, you're saying it makes no difference to anything if we were to then look at what we owe on that bond.
Well, right, it doesn't change our bond assessment because the money has already been borrowed and it's sitting in a construction fund.
Right.
And if you paid this out, and unfortunately, the admin building is going to cost a lot more than what was allocated in the bond. And so we've already got in our budget 250,000 or so to make up the difference. If we were to pay this 189 out of our general fund, all it does is reduce what we might have to pay in the future to make up the difference. Because this money will still be sitting in the construction fund and would be drawn as part of the admin building construction. So
For the sake of discussion, I move to accept the staff recommendation and approve the district version of $189.
keep things much
second
cleaner.
Yeah, okay. So moved by Tom, seconded by John. Any other discussion? All right.
Well,
let's call-
if we keep this money in the construction account, and then if we decide later to separate from Gateway, it'll go easier to pay off this bond, to cut our ties with Gateway.
Wouldn't go there
No,
at this time.
You've already borrowed the money.
It's just where
You
to
can't
draw
pay the
from.
bond off for 10 years from the date that it was issued.
So we still can't pay the bond off?
You cannot pay it off. That's been confirmed by bond counsel on two different occasions. That'll be going to the board at their next meeting,
All right.
even
so-
with the penalty, because I asked that question.
Ooh, good job. So we've got a motion and we've got a second. Let's call the vote.
Marty votes nay.
Alan?
Keep it the way it is.
So,
Yes.
A,
Staff
Yes.
says.
A.
okay. All right,
I.
Peggy votes aye.
I,
Tom?
Oh, I thought I said aye.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You were just sitting over there like,
No, no,
aye.
I said aye.
Okay, so Marty declined and everybody else was approved.
Surprise, surprise.
Well, no,
Okay.
we appreciate your perspective.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Chelsea, I know the bids, there was some discussion on the cost of the building at the last board meeting. Do we know yet how much additional? I think they came in a little bit higher than what the estimate in our budget was based on.
You guys, the bid came in at 5.7 million. It's going in front of the board next Thursday. And I will have a cost breakdown for the board on the funding, on where each will come from. But between your money that you put in the FY25 budget, and then if you used some of your interest earnings, you'll be fine. You won't have to use all of your interest.
Because what we
earnings.
had in there was based on 5.5.
5.5.
So there's a couple 100,000, so 14% of that.
Board has to approve.
Yeah.
No, I know, I just,
There were some, and
I
then
did, I couldn't hear on the recording, just what the numbers were, so.
Yeah, it was
The original estimate, wasn't the original estimate 3.5?
3.62.
3.62, and now we're at 5.7, and we know it's not going to be 5.7.
But Marty, that's above our pay grade, so
No,
we're
we
having
don't get
to.
paid for those decisions.
Yeah.
Rather than the generals make their decisions.
Yep,
I understand, 3-2.
yep, exactly.
Maybe.
Maybe not, yeah. All right,
Not my business.
so our next item here is member items and reports. Let's start down here with.
I had two items. I'd like
Okay.
at least one update maybe Chelsea or CC, just for the record, what is the status of the speed table?
You know, Benito.
Nobody-
Contractor, missed it, Daniel was in here earlier. The contractor was supposed to start earlier this week. Unfortunately, their superintendent had a heart attack. And so they have had to scramble and get somebody else as a project manager, but the project is underway.
The reason I'm asking, the sign went up, it was going to start on November 4th. Nobody was there until November 14th. People are very confused. So just to make sure it's moving along.
We'll be sending an update, but we wanted to firm up with Tobler Construction, which is the contractor, that they had a PM assigned and that we had confirmed the timeline, and we'll send an update to the community.
Okay, great.
With a picture.
All right, the other item is, this is something we've seen before, but it's popped up twice yesterday and they're back again today. Pelican residents are putting golf carts for sale on Gateway property. Right along the edges of, no, that's
That's
Pelican
golf
property.
course. It's golf course.
No. The one right there at the pond that they
That's
put
golf
a
course property.
Cypress Lake and Pelican.
That's golf course.
We have easement to it for me.
There's a land.
Okay, so that's a golf course issue. All right, but the other one is down as you enter the preserve on the first entry coming in.
At the three-way stop,
Yes,
they park the golf
there's
carts
another one
there.
parked there. It's on, I guess that's preserved. It's golf course as well.
Yeah, and I talked to Yanni, and she said, you're going to be bringing it up, and I was look, because my wife's the one that posted it out on Facebook that, hey, we don't,
Right.
you know, it's not, and I started looking, it's actually golf course property, there's a 12-foot utility easement and a 15-foot landscape easement on there. But Tom, our
There was one parked, at
That's Sienna
Rocky,
property.
right on the curved area,
But,
rather, one park there too. So
But I also looked, our community declarations say that the community association can make the rules regarding golf carts. Part of the problem is the golf course isn't subject to our declarations.
Right.
But our declarations say that the community association can make the rules regarding golf carts. I looked at the rules on golf carts, and it says you cannot park them overnight on the streets or driveways, but it doesn't really address this. But it seems like the only way to make it official that you can't do that would be to add to the community association rules.
And then how do we enforce them if
Enforce
they're
it.
not on our property?
Tow it. I don't know.
Don't you guys register golf carts, so you should know who the golf cart is?
Well, I know they put a sticker on. Do I know that they can go back and figure out whose sticker that is? No, I don't know that.
Well, it says, the declarations say that you make the rules regarding golf carts within the community.
All right.
So I think that, no
Going to
matter
the
whose
compliance.
property within the community, so
It's going
no
to
matter
be,
whose property
I
it's
will
on.
refer the matter to the compliance committee.
So
Thank you,
And
Edward.
I was chasing this around right before the meeting to try to figure out.
Your
how we
wife
could-
started
how we
the
could do
problem.
that, I know. Happy wife, happy
Yeah.
life, you know.
So-
Well, you can go home and say, I took care of it.
No,
Tom, this is Marty. So today at the president's meeting, Yanni said that yes, she can go back with the number, with the sticker that's on the
Okay.
golf cart and trace it back to the individual.
Yeah, It's got a
good.
sticker on it.
She
But
said
we
she-
need to have a rule in place,
yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like it.
10% of the sale.
There you go. John, do you have any?
So-
No member
So
items? Ed, any member items from you?
I will just let people know that, you know, we did these agreements with Passarella for the GIS services, and I've been working with them to try to reorganize the legend and to get things organized a little bit more, so it's a little more user-friendly for people and stuff. And they're gonna go through, and it's been a couple years since they've updated the property from the Lee County GIS, so they're gonna be updating that stuff. So there's gonna be some kind of, call it administrative GIS functions that are gonna be spread across all the three purchase orders. So everybody, all the three groups will pay for a piece of that kind of admin stuff. So But then we'll have something that I think we can actually go out and demonstrate, and it'll be more user-friendly for all the residents, as well as the subcommittees trying to find their stuff in there, so.
Good, thank you. Marty? I'm sorry, I'm starting, I'm going like this.
Is it to me?
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know if it's, I should bring it up here or if I should bring it up at the Safety and Security Subcommittee meeting. But I got run off the road, the preserve path that runs parallel to the boardwalk that comes out by the back of the Brokey Center.
Okay.
I got ran off the road twice last week.
Walking?
And I was on my bike. But I got run off the road twice last week, one by a golf cart that was driving down the center of the path. The other was by a gator maintenance vehicle where I ended up going into the preserve. Is there anything we can do about getting more mirrors or something to make that pathway safer?
Less crazy drivers.
I would push it back to your safety and security subcommittee.
I will bring it up at the Safety and Security Subcommittee.
Anything else, Marty?
No.
Alan?
I heard this at the KW Coffee, yesterday? Huh? Yeah. And it has to do with, but I thought I'd see what Gateway has to say about this. The debris that was collected from the hurricane and then put on the parking lot, is that to be removed shortly?
It was removed.
It was yesterday.
Well, I was just out there, drove by this morning and they were still there.
I saw 2 trucks in there yesterday.
Well, they must not got it all,
They did not.
because there's a bunch.
So the city of Fort Myers did come out yesterday and they got one full truckload. They have to come back and get the other parts, the other handful of debris that's left. And staff is coordinating with them.
Okay, good, thank you.
They did. I mean, I did see, Chelsea said I saw the truck going out full, and I thought I saw another truck coming in behind.
Well, I was by there this morning, there's a
Okay.
bunch in there yet, so that's why I was checking, so.
And that's
Good.
at no cost.
Huh?
That's at no cost.
Well, there was a cost to move it from the rights of way to the Brocky, but the disposal, no cost to the district.
Good
Or
match.
Pelican
A
residents.
match.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, I have one item. It was brought up that the Gateway residents have had a survey that went out on the park, and they were asking if we were going to be getting that survey to Pelican as well. No?
So the board has discussed that.
Okay,
The biggest component of that was the cost associated to it, which is the majority of the questions.
right.
The board has not decided to push that to the Pelican residents yet, because we don't have the costs.
Because there's not one gateway yet.
Okay,
Yeah, but
but if
that
we,
information leads to one gate.
yeah, I guess I'm just concerned that if
There is
we,
no one gate.
if we get the survey and 90% of the people in Pelican say no, is that going to sway the decision on whether to move forward, or would they move forward with whatever price tag that you get, and then you say you have to share? To me, that seems.
3-2, we lose.
Yeah, I
Some of
know.
that comes out of the assessment methodology.
Right,
So this is all where you are with all this clouds and mud right now. It's very difficult to put A in front of B and B in front of C right now. It just is.
okay.
All the fair questions, they really are. There's two things, it will be very difficult to see a contraction. I think that's going to be very difficult. The methodology, assessment methodology, 2 of them are being done, you know that as well. How they come out, how close they are, or how far apart they are, is going to determine a lot of that discussion. It seems reasonable that we would guesstimate that if you did survey 2,500 homes on Pelican Preserve, you were going to get 90 percentile and low number of negative responses to we do not want to fund your park or admin building. Would that sway the board of supervisors in their decision making? 2 of them are probably yes, they would sway, but they're probably already there. who could speak for three other people? I don't think that it's personally talking, I don't think that that's a 3-2 vote. On both cases, I think you've got one supervisor, different ones and different votes that feel strongly negative toward,
One or the other.
I might
Bob,
be
did you-
wrong.
Appreciate your insight.
Yeah, this is Bob Geppert again, speaking as a resident. I would like a motion from PPAC to the Board of Supervisors saying you would like to have the survey. Nothing to do with the admin building, but for the park, definitely like to hear from these residents. It has been discussed by the board members and was left open, as Chelsea said. But this way, if we make a recommendation, we want to get a vote, so be it.
Can you give us numbers, a real cost number on that, or what it would cost us?
We're going to give the same survey we did Gateway.
Yeah, that
Whatever
was the
Ken's
question
Gateway,
that I got.
it's
If they
that
used to
identical
live in
survey.
Gateway And they got a survey, now they've moved over.
Here, this goes back to the dollar value discussion, because as of right now, the assessment, as of today, as the assessment methodology that we're working under today, Pelican does not pay into the Parks and Rec category. So if you're asking me for a number, I don't know, I know what the bids came in at, but I don't know what Pelican's portion of that would be. I could assume 14%, which has been historically what Pelican has paid into the general fund, but I don't have that number because that number has not been decided by the board.
Wouldn't we still have a survey that would say, are you in favor of having
Absolutely.
an assessment?
Those were like the first two questions as
Okay.
part of that survey.
So, okay.
Right, so what I'm hearing you say right now, if existing situation, if you built a new park, it wouldn't cost us a penny. Existing assessment methodology.
As of right now, the assessment methodology does not have Pelican paying park components.
Correct. So that's the problem that we all have is today, why you survey this, it's not going to cost anything. But if you look into the future and there's any potential that it would cost us anything, what would we say about it? And how do you word that survey, Bob? I'm just not sure.
Exactly what went to Gateway, same survey verbatim.
Would that make sense?
No, because again, the majority of those questions had specific dollar values assigned to it. Would you be willing to pay X amount or up to X amount or up to Y or Z?
Well,
Some
why
of the
wouldn't that be valid then?
Because the calculations at the time, back when that survey was sent out, was about $80-some per Gateway resident. I don't know if that would be applicable to Pelican. We could ask the generic questions, to your point, Peggy. Is this something you would be interested in? But if you're asking to send the exact same survey, it's not applicable.
Why don't we have a survey
Everybody
on,
would say no, because we're already paying county parks and rec, city parks and rec, and our own private
So
amenities.
Bob, why do you need a survey when you know the answer?
I mean, would it?
We
would it
don't
change-
necessarily need the survey, but one of the supervisors has publicly stated that if the survey comes back in at 51% or greater, he will not support the park. That's what one supervisor has said, unequivocally,
51% or greater from Pelican or
from the total Gateway.
So what were your results from the
CDD.
initial survey? You've done that, right?
5149.
51, so he's,
This just makes the numbers go even higher. I'm expecting Pelican will turn it down. I don't know that.
well, I think, I'm trying to be reasonable on this, because. at
It
the
costs
moment-
nothing to do the survey.
Right, well, no, it doesn't, but it's, I'm
Well,
in Chelsea's corner going, how do you ask the question when you don't have a number?
Take the dollars out of it then, just put XXX. Are you willing to pay a nickel?
there's two different
Okay.
things. The current assessment methodology is for, the current assessment methodology that they're going through is for O&M, future O&M costs.
Right.
Construction costs, the bond cost has already been allocated. And it's split based on the two development areas, Pelican.
But they're very different things, Ed.
Right, I know.
Okay.
So the capital cost of the park, the construction cost may be irrelevant because it's already being allocated to the community of Gateway, not the the Gateway portion of the CDD, not because there's.
To the
they
001
split
account.
But
Between,
Until 06 is
Right.
replaced, until the repeal of 06 is replaced with a different methodology, That remains in effect.
For maintenance. Well.
That
the
remains in
bond's already
effect
been split.
for
They have to
assessments
refinance the
for
bond to
non-ad
change
valorem
it.
tax. So until we change it, we're still dealing with what we did in '24. This will just give the board a sense of the feeling in Pelican, recognizing that Pelican may or may not be a future component to this.
Figure out a way to word it. I mean, it helps the board of supervisors make a decision going forward, pro or con. I think that would, having that information would be good for them. I don't know how you word it. I'm getting a little bit on your side there. I don't know how you ask the question.
Because it's future O&M costs. Not
Right, but today it doesn't cost you anything. You want to park? Sure.
Well, I mean, to Bob's point, you could put it out exactly as it was. I mean, just with the caveat that the number is not accurate, but
Yep.
would you be willing to pay that, period?
Because in my humble judgment, and I expressed this to my board members, it should have gone out to us.
I agree with you. They would
Okay.
have gotten a total different number back. I just don't know how to answer.
Bob, is the survey numbers the most important, or would a letter from Pelican Preserve stating X amount?
We respond better to surveys. The
Pardon
board.
me?
The board responds better to surveys.
Okay.
Yeah,
Be-
if we could do the survey with just a caveat that these were the numbers that were presented to the Gateway residents, they could be different.
That would work great.
So the board is considering award of the admin building and the park improvements unless they choose to delay that decision to a future board date. They are considering that next Thursday.
That's all.
So
I mean, you got, excuse me. Go ahead.
no, you guys can make the recommendation to the board and then, Peggy, you can bring it up to them. Or one of your board members can bring it up to them at the board meeting next Thursday, absolutely.
Might
That
be
doesn't
too late,
stop
might
you-
not.
That doesn't stop you from making the recommendation
Well,
to them.
I will certainly be at the board meeting, and I would speak on behalf, I'll survey the board, but I'm sure that if you asked us, we would be opposed to a park. We've said it publicly already during the comments on Rule 6. I think you as a board member representing Gateway need to just say that you recognize that a survey was not done, but you've done a kind of a.
And how I will vote in the board meeting will depend on what is presented to us, numbers wise. And I have said publicly in the board meetings, I will support 2.5 to 3 million, even 3.7 or 8 million for the ad building. Won't support a nickel over. I know, but it hasn't changed.
Right.
The park is a totally different question.
Well, you've heard from the people of Gateway about how you vote, so.
Well, that's what I mean. See, they always told me I would vote for the park because I didn't pay for it.
Right.
So there we are.
Okay, so I'd like to at least make a motion that we send the survey with a caveat on the numbers, but send it exactly as it is now. That'll make it the
You're
easier.
recommending that to the board?
I'm making that as a recommendation, and that I'm not sure what the timing would be on it, but I'm not even gonna go into
So,
it.
question to you, in terms of that recommendation to the board, are you therefore recommending that they postpone the decision on the park until they have conducted that survey and gotten the feedback? Because that's really what that recommendation is saying.
Yeah.
You'd have to.
Well, when
If
we know
that- I
how
get
that
some-
would go, I mean, that would get turned down in a heartbeat, but it doesn't mean I can't recommend
It's the
it.
appropriate recommendation.
Okay, I'm going to modify so that I'm requesting that we do a survey with a caveat, exactly as it went out to the Gateway, and that any decision is deferred by the Board of Supervisors until Pelican residents have a chance to take the survey.
Provide their input. Does that work for you? I love it. We know what will happen with
A
it.
second.
Okay, so moved by Peggy, seconded by John. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Marty.
opposed?
Aye.
Yay!
Oh. Aye.
You can report that at the board too.
All right,
I held my nose.
I know you did, I appreciate it. Okay.
CC must have.
Oh, Cece, did you have something? Oh, yeah.
Cece Haas from Casella. Just a slight clarification, I just wasn't sure. On item 8E, with the brochure to be now put into the online, both by Gateway and us, which version?
I'm asking for the revised version to
Okay.
come electronically.
Okay, just
So
wanna make sure.
Chelsea's sending
So
that
it's
to
up
me.
to date.
Thank you.
Good clarification. Okay, so our next meeting agenda, so this is November, the next one is December. I will not be here. How many people will be here?
I won't be here.
I won't be here.
When is it, the 12th?
It is the
December
12th.
12th, I will be here.
I will be here.
Okay, and
I'm
Tom?
not.
Okay, so we've got 3, we don't know about Nancy.
You got 2.
Who's the
You
third
got
one?
John and you got
Marty and John.
Marty and John, oh, and you said you would not be here, Ed?
I won't be.
You won't be here and you will not be here. We won't
We don't
have
have
quorum. Do we want to just cancel our December and then pick it up in January?
Do you want to change the date?
Um,
The next Thursday is the Board of Supervisors meeting,
Yeah,
2:00, and with a
and you're
workshop.
right around the holidays. Do we have anything that's pressing? I guess that's the question. Daniel, from your perspective, is there anything that's pressing? Chelsea? No, I have 14 people coming to my house.
So how about I make a motion to cancel the December 12th PPAC meeting?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Marty, seconded by Tom. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Before you adjourn, I'd like to just give one brief update.
Sure.
The Pelican Preserve landscaping bid did go out on the street today. Your landscaping subcommittee has been working very, very diligently at getting that together and put out. And then
When are bids due?
January. Yeah, I think with the holidays, we have to account for all that, so it has to be out at minimum 30 days, and I think that puts us right at like Christmas, so, yeah. But the landscape subcommittee and Nancy as a designated representative from PPCA will, and as well as staff, will be the selection committee on that. I think that was really the only update that I had outside of this.
That's good, that's positive.
Real quick, one back on the scheduling.
Okay,
So the next one is tentatively scheduled right now for January 9th.
okay.
Clarifying that, and just to clarify that we can meet if we needed to meet at the call of the chairman. If there was an emergency meeting.
Absolutely, we just have to have a 7-day advance notice, correct?
So I have a question. So are we going to have a quorum for January 9th?
I'm here,
I'm here.
Yep.
Okay.
I think.
Daniel, what's the status of the bike lane?
Oh,
bids?
Going to your safety and security committee.
Is that,
So it's,
Okay.
it's slated for the next safety and security meeting, which I believe is 22 November.
next week?
Yep.
Okay.
The last one I attended, they did not want to spend the
Bicycle
money.
lane striping.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
I guess the question, was that bid with thermoplastic striping?
Yes.
Okay, I wonder if it would be substantially reduced if it was just painted. Because we've been talking about road resurfacing and stuff, and it doesn't make sense to put down expensive thermoplastic
Wait
striping.
and see the numbers that come out. The
Okay.
agenda has to be posted today, and we're gonna try to get the packet out today. So.
Okay,
So
because
we
I was
look at
just,
the numbers.
because the engineered estimates were scary and everybody was, so.
Okay.
But anyway, there's a lot of, I've been working with them on road resurfacing plan and stuff and what we might do. And that stretch of Pelican is kind of in the next couple, 3 years. So it's like, you want to put down expensive striping and
That's the
then.
conversation safety and security is gonna have.
Yeah.
And Ed, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would reduce,
I just
it would
wanted to-
reduce the cost if you bring it down from the thermoplastic, but it won't be much. To the point where I think they'd still have the appetite to want to move and proceed forward. My suggestion and recommendation will be, based off of the numbers that I've seen, and I know what it would reduce, is that you wait until you do the resurface, the mill resurface, get the roads back to a good state, and then proceed. If you're going to spend the money, do it once.
Yep.
Yeah,
that
not
makes
twice.
sense.
Mhm.
All right, so any other thing for our next agenda? We know we're going to talk about the bond. We're going to talk about what comes out of each of the committees, including the bike lane, I'm sure. Hopefully, we'll have a completion notice on the speed table.
This is Marty. Make a motion to adjourn.
Marty would like us to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from everybody. So, all right, we're
Aye.
adjourned. Thank you.
Aye.
Had to get that in.
Yeah,
Here's one good holiday.
yeah, you guys as
I
well.
want the question. but I ask. That's all right.